Hey everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. It is Saturday, January 23rd, 2021. I hope you are doing marvelously well. I hope you are cheerful, optimistic, and have the joy of the Lord. I am here to post some new, not so much facts, but as opinions, and to correct a mistake. The mistake that I am correcting is, last video I posted was entitled Things We Won't Forget, Things That We Won't Do, and Things We Will Do, and it is my mistake. It is only my mistake, but somehow in the editing process, right before it went to print, I must have hit the delete button on the last section, and so it wasn't there. I normally will take the time to kind of bump through the audio to make sure that doesn't happen, but I was short on time, and so that was my mistake, and I'm going to include those remarks there, or in this video right here. Now, I would love to talk about 1776 and 1871. I'd love to talk about republic versus corporation. I would love to talk about a CGI, West Wing, Castle Rock inauguration, but I don't have time, and other people have done a much better job searching that information out. I have posted a lot of fresh links on the hot links part of ohioforfreedom.com. It might help you if you've not been able to find them for yourself. I'm fortunate people send me stuff from all over the place. I would love to talk about executive orders that don't seem to show up on the Federal Registry. I'd love to talk about the Pentagon not really seeming to cooperate with JoJo. But then again, I'd also like to talk about Flashpoint and Pastor Gene Bailey. I'd love to talk about Pastor Prophet Hank Kuhneman and Cat and eating cake, but I don't have time. I'd love to talk about Kim Clement and the two presidents prophecy and other prophecies that he's made. I'd like to talk about who really has the nuclear codes. I'd love to talk about why are the troops there in Washington all the way through mid-March? Why does the president, our real president, President Trump, have to offer the use of his hotel there in Washington so that our National Guard troops don't have to sleep out in the street in the cold? I'd love to talk about Biden's private airplane ride to Washington. What's that all about? I'd love to talk about, is the military really seeming to take any orders from JoJo? No. I'd like to talk about the man who appears to be in a health position, who is psychologically sick because he wants us to think he's a woman and he's not. But alas, my dear friends, there isn't time to even mention any of these things. So I'm going to make a couple of announcements, and then I'm going to include the remarks that I, and I alone, deleted. Although I will say, it's been a very, very strange week, technically. By the way, we have spent a lot of time going through the email list and moving that over to a different server. And if that's been a frustration for anybody, I apologize, but I think that we're on it. And so that should be cleared. But by the way, in case the lights ever seem to go out and the big censorship ever seems to come down, you can always go to ohioforfreedom.com, and the title of the latest video post will be right there on the front page. Go to the video blog and it'll be there. So you can just go there. But I will send out email alerts. So I have two announcements besides the usual housekeeping, which is please like, please share, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Okay, please do that. And announcement number one is the reason I don't have time to comment on the things I previously mentioned is I'm focused on an interview that it's my privilege to do tomorrow with Anna Gardner of New Mexico Stands Up, and her group has filed a federal lawsuit challenging the unconstitutional actions of their governor. They're working in tandem, in concert, in cooperation with Ohio Stands Up, who has done the same thing. And folks, this is very, very important, and I'm going to ask you to please be watching for that interview. It's a little bit of a cerebral exercise, I think, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that you got to absorb and kind of wrap your mind around. But folks, all of the unconstitutional actions of these governors, and we have the poster child for the New World Order for a governor here in Ohio, Mike DeWine. But the wonderful thing about these lawsuits, it attacks it at the constitutional level, and so something can really happen. And so please, pardon me, I'm going to ask you to be watching for that video, absorb the information, and then share. And as I've said earlier, a portion of that we are not going to post on Facebook. We're not going to post on YouTube because, frankly, they don't deserve to hear our conversation about the V word and other items. And so rather than tiptoe around, dance around the edges, we're simply going to post it elsewhere, which is also something that I'm going to talk about. So be watching for that interview. And then finally, announcement-wise, last weekend you may know that I had announced that I was going to do my first ever Facebook Live on Ohio for Freedom on Facebook. And I had a really cool little patriotic concert put together. Some original tunes, some of which are patriotic, some other patriotic songs, some gospel, a little bit of Delta blues, and a nice uplifting little evening. And then arbitrarily and capriciously, Facebook decided to squash our page for 24 hours, so that didn't happen. So rather than sit back and take it, Sunday, the 24th of January, 2021 at 6 p.m., I'm going to do my first ever Facebook Live. And for whatever reason, I'm going to do it on my Everett and Delta Storm Facebook page. That's Everett and Delta Storm. I have not even looked at that page probably in 3 or 4 months, maybe even longer. My priorities have been elsewhere, and I don't know, maybe it's just a Zuckerberg bot's concern, but anyway, that's where we're going to do it. And I'd like to think that I have at least, tens of fans that are going to be able to, well, okay, maybe fives of fans, or probably more realistically, twos of fans. But if you can all join me there, and there will be an opportunity if you want to make a contribution, you can leave a tip on PayPal. But if you have no intention of leaving a tip, that's perfectly fine. Join me if you can. And Lord willing, it will happen tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern here in the U.S., and it will be on the Everett and Delta Storm Facebook page. Now, I thought that I might just play the clip that I previously recorded, but as usual, being at no shortage for wind or words, I'm just going to jump in. So, I'm speaking to you, patriotic, God-fearing American. All right? Here are some things we are going to do. And yes, I'm speaking for you. You don't have a choice in this, okay? We've decided this is what we're going to do, and you're going to be a part of it. So if you have to stand up straight, if you have to put your shoulders back, if you have to suck in your gut, and we all do from time to time, it's time to do that. It's time to put on our big boy, girls, and boys pants, and it's time to be the people of God that we are. So I want to say this as I get into some things that we are going to do. I know that, and by the way, one of the reasons I was so hurried over the last few days is that I have a certain format that I like to engage when I put a video together, but it takes a little bit of time, and time was of a premium this week, but there was no way after I have gone before this little camera and this little microphone and offered encouragement, and then the events that happened on the 20th of January, CGI Wednesday, it shall go down in history as, there's no way that I was going to fail to come and say something that reflected at least my actual mood, because otherwise it might appear that, there was discouragement or something like that. In case you're not picking up on it, ain't no bit of discouragement in this person right here. But still, January 20th might have not turned out the way some of us would want to, but I want you to think about this with me. Now, I have a French last name. I actually don't have any knowledge or any connection to any of my French ancestry, but there must be some or I wouldn't have a French last name. I wish I knew more about World War II history. I don't know that much, but I do know this. France was occupied during World War II. They were invaded. They were occupied. What did they do? Did they just sit back and say, oh my gosh, we're invaded? What do we, I guess we got to learn to speak German. We got to quit eating our delicious French food and learn to cook and eat German food. No, that's not what they did. Some of the stories of some of the most brave stories that you can become familiar with are the stories of the French resistance and World War II. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how we've got to think. Because I don't know if you've realized this, but we live here. This is our country. This is where we live. This is where we live. It's where our children live. It's where our grandchildren, if we have them, live, or where our grandchildren that we're going to have live. And so what we're doing now is about us right now, but it's about future generations. So once again, suck up your gut, put your shoulders back, and stand up and quit yourselves like men. and women. So here are a few things, and I'm sorry, if you're a patriot, if you're a God-fearing Christian community patriot, you don't have a choice. Okay, I'm sorry to inform you, you don't have a choice. Here we go. We're going to obey God, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to obey God. If that leads us to the same place that it led Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, then we will march happily into the fire, and the results belong to God, but we're going to obey God. Number two, we are going to pray like never before. If you're like me, you're kind of riding the coattails of some real intercessors and real prayer warriors. But we're going to pray like never before. And I'm very thankful for that group of people that I just mentioned, because there is a remnant that is fully, they're real intercessors. And I want to yield to that more, but I thank the Lord for them. But we're going to pray like never before. We're going to stand on the word like never before. And then right at the top of the list, folks, we, the patriot, God-fearing community of the United States, are going to continue to stand for life. And we are going to continue to affirm the truth that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. Don't ever doubt that. It's going to be overturned. I thought it was interesting. I saw the news story earlier today, the 23rd, that Joe Biden codified abortion so that if Roe v. Wade is ever overturned, it won't affect abortion. Joey Joe can codify all he wants. God doesn't honor what people codify if it flagrantly violates, and America is going to address this grievous sin in the 62 million people that we have killed in the womb since Roe v. Wade. Now, I'm going to introduce a concept that I want you to get familiar with because this is an attitude and an understanding I would really like to ask you to develop and appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time that you begin to think like a happy hermit crab. That's right, a happy hermit crab. Now, what is a hermit crab? Well, a hermit crab is happy crab, spunky crab, lively crab, but it's a crab that has to live in the shell of something else. Has to live in the shell of something else. And I think it's a great analogy that the patriots, the God-fearing Christian community patriots, we are the only life right now that inhabits the dead shell of the Republican Party, which, make no mistake about it, is, for all intents and purposes, dead. So the only living organism within the Republican Party is that happy, patriotic hermit crab. And if you don't want to know what that shell looks like, you can look up there and you can see dead Lindsey Graham. You can look over there and see dead Liz Cheney. And when I say dead, I mean figuratively, fact checkers. Don't get worked up. You can see dead Liz. You can see dead Lindsey Graham. You can see the Rob Portmans. You can see the Mike DeWines. You can see the Mitt Romneys, and on the list goes. But make no mistake about it, and this is a beautiful thing about the way that events have turned out, we know that the Republican Party is dead. Nevertheless, think about it. It's a little bit of personal stuff for that guy that always says, get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. We don't hear about your personal stuff. Well, when I was a small child, I saw the movie The Incredible Mr. Limpet, partially cartoon movie with Don Knotts, and he had a little friend called Krusty the Krab. And I remember that when Krusty the Krab had that little shell on that he used a cup. But here's the point. I have a picture in my mind. Wherever Krusty went, that's where the shell went. So understand this. At some point, we may become part of another party altogether. But until then, wherever we go, that's where the shell goes. It's not the other way around. It's not the dead shell of the Republican Party leading us around. No. It's the living, breathing hermit crab of patriots that is taking this dead shell of the Republican Party anywhere that we want to go. And speaking of that, I want to say to all of us, we are going to be more involved in local politics than ever before. Let's take a moment. Let's repent. Let's acknowledge that we have been somewhat asleep at the wheel. especially at the local and state level. But that, my friends, is changing. There are going to be patriots on the school board. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. We're going to have patriot mayors. We're going to have real, true patriot state senators and state representatives, county commissioners. But we are learning from the error of our ways. We're repenting of the error of our ways, and we are getting more involved than ever before. And I said I would come back to the idea of school board. I don't want to hear you, Mom. I don't want to hear you whine about they're teaching my kid this and they're teaching my kid that. And I don't. If you haven't run for the school board, you don't have any place to whine. Now, I realize not everybody's going to run for school board, but you can form a moms that ain't going to take it no more group. And you can get you. We often forget these people work for us. They work for us. And you know something else? They're afraid of us, and never forget that. So it's time to be more involved. Now, I want to keep moving right along because these are things we're going to do. Something else we're going to do is we are going to continue to connect to other patriots and patriot voices like never before. And I am challenging you, like I'm challenging me, to do the hard work. Do the hard work to make it impossible for Mark Zuckerberg, for the guys at Google, for Rip Van Dorsey, to keep you from the information that you are looking for. Now, it took me forever to get on Parler. And when I did, I was a whiner. I was like, well, the first time I did it, I couldn't get the app to work and I had to come. Well, okay, but eventually, whine bag me pushed past it. And once you get on there, yeah, then you got the unfamiliarity and it's somewhat uncomfortable to learn it. But once you learn it, it's not a big deal. Now, I realize Parler is down right now, but they're coming back. But my point is, I don't care if it's uncomfortable. Do it. Get on Telegram. Get on Clout Hub. Find Brighteon and find these people. Find Dave in this episode at X22. Find Mike Adams. Find Clay Clark. I finally got his name right. Find Thrive Time. Find all of these wonderful sources of patriot inspiration and information, and do whatever you have to do to make sure that you cannot be disconnected from trusted sources, because it ain't coming from the mainstream media. So once again, and I've been patient, and I'm hanging on to my Facebook audience, and I'm going to walk a tightrope and double post and all of that. But that leads me to the next thing. Something else that we're going to do is we, and when I say we, it's others doing it, not me. I have neither the smarts or the ability or the resources, but we, the Patriot community, we're building our own social media platforms. We are building our own video hosting platforms that the big 3 or 4 don't have any control over, and we're doing it unapologetically. And by the way, while I'm on that subject, I'm throwing a challenge out there, and I hope somebody hears it. One of you guys out there are smart enough. Somebody start another telephone company. I will spend 3 times the money to buy an American-made phone that does the basics that I need. I'm tired of buying. I had to fight an Apple subscription last night, and I almost lost my, I almost became unsanctified, but I didn't. You can do this. Somebody out there, you have the ability, and we will support you. And while I'm at it, somebody out there, would you please, because I can't do it, would you please come up with an operating system so I can ditch Microsoft once and forever? I'm tired of Bill Gates getting a penny of my livelihood. But we're going to do all these things, ladies and gentlemen. Social media, video hosting platforms, and whenever somebody is moving in that direction, we need to jump in behind them and support them. And speaking of support, we need to support law enforcement, and we're going to continue to do that. And then this may seem totally out of the blue, but I do want to say it just because I want to and just because I can. You know something we're going to do? We're going to, and I don't know the answer to the questions, the answers to the questions I'm going to ask right now. We're going to find out what is the Fed? I mean, what is it? Who owns it? Where do they get their money? Do they make money? If they make money, who earns the money? Where does it go? How are they really governed? Who do they really answer to? And I'm going to explore that more in episodes to come, because I did hear a wonderful, and I'm going to try to post the link on ohioforfreedom.com, about a 3-hour-long Thrive Time. But I heard Clay Clark, and for whatever reason, I couldn't remember his last name so many times. He has a huge and one of the best podcasts going in the country today, but he made a statement. He said the Federal Reserve, one, ain't federal, and number two, it doesn't have any reserves. So we need to get rid of that. And I'm almost bringing this in for a landing. We are going to maintain our First Amendment freedoms. If there is any ounce of you that's thinking, oh, I better be careful, I don't want to say this, I don't want to say that, think in a 180-degree opposite direction, please. We're not afraid of anybody. We're not afraid of AOC. We're not afraid of Ayanna Pressley, so she might as well grow her hair back and look normal. We're not afraid of these censor and all of these re-education efforts. Please, ain't gonna happen. We're hanging on to our First Amendment, and we're hanging on to every bit of our Second Amendment, because I got news for you. Our rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, they don't come from the Constitution. Did you realize that? Our rights in the United States do not come from the Constitution. The Constitution is a wonderful, one of the most amazing documents that man has ever produced. But what the Constitution does is it recognizes rights that emanate and are given to us by Almighty God. The Constitution doesn't give us rights. It recognizes rights that already exist. And there's more that I could say, more things we're going to do, but I think you get the general gist of where I'm coming from. I hope you can see my attitude is good. My heart is light. My emotions are up, and I want to encourage you to join me there. Speaking of join, if you can join me for my first ever Facebook Live on Everett and Delta Storm at 6 p.m. on January the 24th, we would love to have you. Please be looking for that interview with Anna Gardner from New Mexico Stands Up. Folks, please think about what you've heard. Thanks to everybody that sends information. Thanks to everybody that sends me notes. I appreciate that very much. And until next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio, which is going to go through some shaking. Oh, I got to say one more thing. Folks, President Trump, let's put it like this. The hand of God's going to do a smackdown on this country, and the results are going to be wonderful. God's not done with this country. He's got it. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio. And God bless the United States of America.